Hi, I'm April.
And I'm Bailey.
We are real-life friends and neighbors.
Together we run a business called Passionist Designs.
Our favorite part of our job is being in people's homes and hearing their stories. As we became inspired by these stories, we wanted to share them with others. That's where the Nestled podcast was born.
So join us each week as we are encouraged to pursue our own design decisions based on what we love instead of what fills our Instagram feed. Every home has a story, and we can't wait to hear yours.
Welcome to our very first Nestled podcast. We're so excited to have you joining us. We wish that we could have every single person in our homes to sit around and drink coffee and talk to us about life and love and design and all the things that we enjoy so much. But since we can't, we're inviting you into our homes in this way. So welcome. We're glad you're here.
You'll hear us talking a lot on this podcast about being neighbors, and we haven't always been neighbors. We actually moved on each other's street just a few months ago, and our move to this part of town was very intentional. We both felt like something kind of came alive in us in this part of town that it didn't anywhere else, and we wanted to plant roots here for our families. But in doing so, we both left homes that we really loved and moved into much smaller homes with our families. And so through that process, at first, it was kind of hard to find the things about our new houses that we really loved and appreciated.
So we have decided that we are going to start each week's episode with thankful tidbits. And for us, it took a little while because the list is always growing of things that we want to accomplish in our homes, things that we want to change, furniture that we want to paint, things that need to be redesigned and planned out better. But we wanted to be careful to take time to be thankful about the things in our homes that we are currently loving. And so each week we want to start off by sharing our thankful tidbits, the things that we are loving in our home, and make a choice of contentment that we will choose things and look around us and be appreciative for the things that we have and the things that we are really using and loving in our lives right now. What is your thankful tidbit for this week?
So this week, the thing that I'm choosing to be very thankful for is my little letterboard that lives in my kitchen. I've already been able to do a few different phrases on it that just encourage me, and a lot of times my husband Justin and I will kind of send messages back and forth, which is still really fun because our kids can't read yet. And so that I feel like has just brought a lot of joy and encouragement to my life that I didn't even realize that I needed as I was in my kitchen. And so I'm very thankful for that little purchase. And mine was actually very inexpensive. It came from Hobby Lobby, and I think it was about $20. So it has been worth every penny. What are you thankful for this week?
I chose our chalkboard calendar that hangs in our hallway, and people who know me know that we have moved our family of 7 into literally a tiny house based off the square footage, and so we need kind of a command center, and that's what this chalkboard calendar has been for us. It holds all of our kids' activities and all of our family activities as well as church things, and we can put it all in one place so everyone knows where everyone is and what's going on. With kids in middle school and elementary school, still having a preschooler, husband that's a pastor, it really is a great way for us to keep up with what's going on. And my kids love it. They love to be able to come into the hallway and look and see what we have going on that day. And also, we are not plugging Hobby Lobby. We obviously are not sponsored by Hobby Lobby, but it came from Hobby Lobby as well. And it was, 50% off. It was like $17 or something like that. So it's been a great thing for our family and a way for us to keep up with what's going on.
Speaking of being thankful, we are so grateful to our sweet friend Carrie for agreeing to come and be our first podcast guest.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess around here. We're currently holding a passy in a baby's mouth, got a kid in the back with an iPad. We are winging it. The dog's outside barking, but...
And as newbies, we do not know how to edit all those sounds out yet.
We're just going to let it be real. We're going to let it be real for you guys, and so we hope you'll hang in there with us as we work out those kinks, but we're really thankful for someone that was willing to come into the crazy and be our first guest.
Carrie is a friend of ours who moved to Mobile in 2015, and the reason that we wanted to have her on the podcast is from the beginning, we saw in her a person who was so great about bringing people into her home, into her space, even before they were all the way moved in.
Right.
She was inviting people
and
over.
And Carrie's great at, keeping her home a place that seasonally she decorates. Her kids have spaces that they feel comfortable and loved and warm, and she's just super inviting. She's great to throw a party, and we just thought she would be a perfect first guest and someone who loves us and was okay with our craziness.
Right. And so that really inspires us about her, and we hope that you guys will be inspired too. So here's Carrie.
Hey, Carrie.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good.
We're good. Carrie is actually a real-life friend of ours, and we're very excited that you're our first podcast guest.
Yay!
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So, Carrie, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
Well, I'm Carrie. I am married to Kyle. We've been married for 11 years now. And we have 4 babies who are not so much babies anymore. Laura Kate is my oldest, and she's 9. And Shepherd is 6. And Fisher is 5. And Archer, our little guy, is 2. And so my husband, Kyle, is the director of a missions organization called Life Vesting International. And so I do some help with him in that ministry. And then I am a travel agent, and I do that from home part-time. And then, full-time mom. So
When you guys launched Life Vesting, that's what brought you to Mobile, which is where Bailey and I are both from. And that's how we met you guys, was from the launch of that missions organization that brought you here.
Yes.
So that's
very
really
thankful for
exciting.
that.
Yeah, and Carrie was one of my real life neighbors for a little while, so that was a neat.
Yeah.
We miss each other.
I
I wish you
know,
lived
we
on our
do.
street.
I so wish you lived on our
know.
street.
Man,
I'd
it'd
pop
be a
you guys
party.
here if we could.
We actually were in
Yes.
your home before you ever were there.
Oh, yeah, that's so true.
We were the welcome wagon. We were the
We're
welcome
the welcome
crew.
wagon, and the wagon was late.
So we met a lot of your lovely extended family who are also waiting on you guys. We brought dinner. I don't even know if you were able to eat the dinner. I don't know what time
Yeah,
you
I
ended
was.
up getting there. You
I
were?
totally
Well,
was.
good.
Yes. We, they're my first house party, and I wasn't even there for it.
Carrie loves a house party, and
I love
she
a house
wasn't even
party
at her own party.
for the very first party in our new house, and everyone was living it up, and we were still just trucking along from Texas to Alabama.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, so funny. That potato soup, man, that was good though. I still remember that. April, you made that.
I'm a real fancy cook with 3 ingredients.
Yeah. That's all you need.
That's
All you need. Okay, so we're going to jump right in and just kind of talk about, what does home mean to you?
Home to me means people. It is, to me, about the relationships. It's about the conversations that happen within the walls or in our backyard. I cannot imagine a home without people. I can imagine a house without people, but I cannot imagine a home without people.
What are some practical ways that you have taken a house and you've made it into a home? What are some ways that you take like this empty shell and you bring in opportunities for people to have those conversations and have those relationships there?
You have to ask people to come to your house.
Right.
Like, even if you're the new person, you have to meet people, and you have to get over that awkward feeling in your gut and just say, hey, come over for dinner, or come over and have, come play with our kids. And, you have to just do it. You have to ask, you have to initiate, and you have to keep doing it. And because that's the way you get people in. And, when we first moved here, joined our church, we had a goal of having every person in our church over to our house. And we haven't met that goal yet. We're still working towards it. But we really do work towards that. We work to have as many people as we can into our home.
Yeah, I think that that's important. Have there ever been times that you felt like there were barriers for you in insecurities or things that would keep you from inviting people into your home?
Yes. My floors are never clean in my house. They're always dirty.
Well, it's for kids. That's hard. Floors are hard.
Floors are so hard. But I was raised in a home where floors were clean all the time.
Right.
And that standard was high. But I had to get to the point in my adult life where I had to say, you know what? When people come to our house, our floors are going to be dirty. But it took me a little while to get over that. Like, and to say, like, maybe sometimes they'll be clean, but most of the time they're going to be dirty. I think also, too, as a mom, there are just seasons where, like, new babies, new life hardships that happen, like, we can get hung up on that really easily and make it so that we just want to kind of isolate and not and keep people out. And so I think relationally speaking and spiritually speaking, even, that's something that we need to lean into and press into the Lord more for, instead of just what we think feels safe, and be able to kind of lean into Him for that and to direct those relationships during those kind of seasons.
I know I've been in that place too of feeling insecure, and we spent the first few years, I'm struggling perfectionist in a lot of ways, but I didn't have people in my home because I was so afraid. And I just think that one thing I've learned is the more that I do invite people in, even into the chaos and into the mess, and that people feel more comfortable. And there is a level of, like, there's a certain mess that is uncomfortable, right? but the real life, sure, you can come in and there's laundry on the couch, and it actually makes people feel like they can be themselves, that they don't have to have it all together. And so I think that that's really important as women. We have this high standard and think that everyone else has it together, but I think that there's something really important about allowing people in even when there's not perfection, because that's real. And that's authentic, and authenticity brings out something in people that they do feel comfortable and they feel like they can relax and that it's a safe place. And so, as your friend, we're super thankful for that.
Well, yeah, it's like when you walk in a friend's house and you see that it's not perfect, I get so excited. Like a deep sigh of relief, and it's like, oh, we can be real friends, like
yes,
just real life. And I think being that for each other gives each other a sense of freedom, and to be able to be real and, like you're saying, April, just authentic with each other.
Carrie, is decorating something that comes natural to you?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that it was something that I watched my mom do. My mom is so gifted at just creating beautiful spaces. And we grew up in a ministry home too, so we didn't have a big budget. My mom didn't, but she was just so gifted, and still is, at just creating really beautiful spaces. And so I had that as an example to look up to, but I had to really learn that I was the main person that was holding me back to make a space that I truly loved and enjoyed. So in a sense, I had to learn my own style and make my own rules. I kept, like, when I first got married, had these crazy expectations of what it was supposed to look like. And honestly, it was probably the house I grew up in, where they'd been married for however many years and had, like, established that home. And I wanted my home to look like that from the get-go. And first of all, it didn't. It couldn't because I didn't have any money at the time. And second of all, because I have a very different style than my mom. And as much as I love her spaces that she creates, I needed to learn how to make my own rules and make my own style, and it be okay. And so yeah, yes and no. I think it came natural in the sense that it was handed down. And also I tend to be a pretty crafty person. And so I am scrappy sometimes. I'm like, by pure willpower, I'm going to make this work. So I think that there's a little bit of a kind of God-given drive for me in that, but yeah, I've definitely had to learn and work at it.
Right. It's like, I'm going to take these 5 pieces of construction paper and 10 pipe cleaners and make a birthday party, by golly.
Right.
Yeah. It's like decorating loaves and fishes.
Right. But I think one of the main reasons that we decided to start this podcast is because we hear people say those same things all the time. They have this expectation that things have to look like either their parents' home or nowadays Pinterest or Instagram, and it doesn't come natural to them because it's not their style. And so
Right.
we're constantly trying to just preach to people, do what makes you happy. Like, don't worry if your sister is going to walk in and think that it looks good. It's what makes you feel at home and comfortable. So do you have any suggestions for someone who's kind of finding themselves in that same spot?
My suggestions would be think about what you actually like and think about the things that you think are pretty and the things that make you feel good inside. If you don't care about throw pillows, don't worry about throw pillows, for the love,
Right.
like focus your energies on things that make you feel good. I love throw pillows. I love walking in a room and seeing pretty pillows. But you know what? I can't afford to buy throw pillows all the time because they cost an arm and a leg. And so I learned to make them. I just will make them from old bed sheets or curtains or, fabric from bargain bins and things like that. And so I think don't get hung up on, well, I'll never be able to afford that, or I'll never be able to make it look like Pinterest. I think about what you like and what you feel warm and what you feel comfortable in, and that's what you try to achieve, and then figure out how to do it. There's so many different ways that you can accomplish one thing or one look. And to me, it doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be me. It has to be a space that I feel good in. I love that book, The Nesting Place by McQuillan Smith. And she talks about go shopping in your house. Like, look for things in other rooms in your house and rearrange things. I do that all the time. It drives my husband bananas. But I just move furniture around and just to try something new. And I might move it back in an hour. But, just kind of changing things up a little bit kind of helps give a fresh breath to our whole house and our whole home. And I have my second kid in particular is so observant, and he'll walk in the house and go, "Oh, you decorated today." And it makes his whole day. And so even seeing the effect it has on my kids makes our home happier and a little livelier and gives it a little breath of fresh air, I think, sometimes. So I think just doing little things, starting small, can be really helpful.
Yeah, one thing that I've learned, when we first got married, I would do a lot of shopping in my own house, and there would be times that I would take all the decorations in the entire house and lay them in the living room, and then I would redistribute them, and it would just make me like, oh, look, new art. It looks so nice.
We talked about the fact that you guys have kind of moved around a decent amount and have had to make a few different homes. When you move, what is the first thing that you like to do in your new house?
I actually hang pictures almost immediately. Even if they don't stay there, even if I end up moving them, I cannot stand blank walls. I consider it almost as important, if not more, than furniture placement in a room. And I just have to have things on the wall. And so I start hanging pictures on day one. I just have to have. In fact, I think even when we moved in this bedroom, before I went to bed that first night, even though we got in pretty late, I hung a picture on the wall just so I had something to look at, so it wasn't just a blank wall when I went to bed and woke up. And so that seems probably pretty backwards to some people. I know some people who move who don't hang things on the wall for months, and I just can't do it. I would rather have nail holes in my wall than
Oh, absolutely, me too.
things.
I hang things very quickly, so I'm like, amen, sister.
Okay, what one thing in your house are you just loving right now?
I think kind of my classic go-to to this answer is I have a dresser mirror frame that was my great-grandparents'. I went one weekend, and this is years ago, and I just raided my grandpa's barn and just found all kinds of treasures. And there was this dresser mirror frame there that was my great-grandparents'. So it's close to 100 years old now, and it's been stripped of the paint. It's just raw wood now, and the glass is way long gone. But I sawed off the legs of it and used it as a frame on my mantle, and it's just my favorite. I just never get tired of looking at it. It always makes me happy, and I love that it tells a story and has heritage to it, and I just like it.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool piece. I've seen it. I love it, and also I love that you're able to decorate seasonally with it.
Yes, you can change stuff out. Yep. Is there any part of your house right now that you just are really wanting to change?
Yeah, my kids' bedrooms, they're abysmal. I really my children are pretty spicy and like to decorate their own places, and I do not always love their decorations. And so I need to spend some time with each of them, kind of finding some middle ground there, like so they feel like they have a space that's theirs, but also I have a space that I don't want to cry every time I walk into their room. So
Right.
that's the place right now that needs the most work.
What inspires you?
I get so inspired by people who are living out and fulfilling their callings and their giftings. I mean, you can just tell when you see someone who is doing what they were born to do,
Right.
versus people who aren't. And so that's just super inspiring to me. As far as decorating and like things in my house, I'm super inspired by things that have a story. I really like pieces that have history to them. They either have a fun story or can even just be a conversation starter. I really like that. I have a picture hanging in my kitchen that is just kind of funky, and almost everyone who's ever come into my house has made a comment about it. And so I like having pieces that kind of start those conversations. That kind of accomplishes, you know, the goal of our house when we have people over. And so I like those kinds of pieces, and I like being able to tell those stories when people are over too.
Yeah, I agree. Y'all know that we adopted one of our children from Colombia, and the pieces that we brought home from Colombia are my very, very favorites. And I wish that we could have fit a lot more in our luggage, but
Right.
we had to bring home our clothes too. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that I love to decorate with are things from our travels, and I always think that it's neat because even though it's not something that maybe is current or trendy, it makes me happy because it reminds me of memories that we've made together and memories that you can't get from Target, you know, although I have some great memories at Target, and
Right.
some of my happiest hours are spent there walking up and down the aisles. But
Although, can we talk about Target for a second? Have you been to Target lately, Carrie?
Like, since when? I mean, I was
there last week, and they've changed everything.
Everything has moved. Nothing looks the same.
Oh,
I feel very
no.
stressed out.
I hate it when they do that. It makes me so...
No. They've never done it like this. Wait till you go. It's like a whole different store.
An overhaul of
Yes.
Target?
The aisles are all different. Things are in the wrong places. I can't get over
even
it.
the groceries or everything
No,
else?
just
The groceries are still on the same side of the store. I don't know. They could be mixed up.
They change up the groceries all the time, and that absolutely is a pet
That is
peeve of
ridiculous. Target, get yourself together.
Moms everywhere need
We're-
their safe place to be safe.
I'm like walking Target with my Starbucks and my baby and trying to have a happy moment because I had a little time before carpool, and lo and behold, the home and decoration section is just unrecognizable. I'm not over it. So, anyway,
just a side tangent.
yeah, just on as a side note, we're really upset with Target.
But I mean, how long can we really stay away?
That's
That's the problem.
that's
It's
the
something-
reality.
Until payday.
Right. Don't we have time and money to explore these new
Right.
lines and aisles?
Right.
We'll get over it because I'll need to go back.
Do you have any current projects going on at your house?
Always. I always have a list. There are things that have been on my list for years, and they get bumped, and then I change my mind sometimes. And then there are some things like, for the past year, I've had probably at the top of my list are I really want to repaint my china cabinet and my piano. But those are such big jobs that I just haven't taken the plunge and done it yet.
Yeah.
So those are probably the top on my list. But I come up with new projects all the time because it's like a part of me. And if I don't have a project, I get sad and gloomy.
Yeah. I have a Hoosier cabinet that my husband Justin was so sweet to buy me, but the finish on it, like, he knew whenever he bought it that I was going to want to repaint it. It's pretty bad, but I have not made the time to do it. He even bought me the paint. And so maybe if I, like, put this out into space right now, it'll hold me accountable. And I'll post on Instagram when I finally paint the Hoosier cabinet.
So if you put it out to the interwebs, then you have to.
We're going to hold you accountable.
If
for
it's
your
on the
piano and your
internet,
china.
then
I know,
it's
right?
true.
It has to, accountability. There's nothing like it on the interwebs.
Right.
Where can everybody find you on the internet? Speaking of the interwebs.
Interwebs.
A couple places you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Carrie M. Wiley. That's CarriemWiley. And I also blog a little bit, and you can find me at www.wileyadventures.com.
Do you want to also share where they can find you for travel agent stuff?
Yes. For travel agent information, I would love to help you plan a fun trip. It's one of my favorite things to do, specifically Disney. And I work with my sister in business, and you can find us at travelbysisters.com.
Once again, thank you, Carrie, for joining us for an interview. We were very encouraged by Carrie's definition of home, and that a home is people. And
we want to just challenge you guys and ourselves to just invite someone in. If you have a house and you've been waiting for it to look a certain way before you invite people over, just kind of get over that and call someone up and have them over for dinner.
Yeah, just do it.
Okay, we want to wrap each week's podcast episode up with just some listener questions. And this week we did not have any listener questions because we have no listeners yet.
Hopefully that will be something that will change very soon.
Yes. And so we decided we would just go ahead and start with some questions that we find that people ask us often.
Yeah, the first question that we get all the time, even from clients who hire us, when we come in, they have a little bit of an idea of their style and what they want, but they just don't know where to start. Mm-hmm. And so for the average person who's saying, I just don't have it in my budget to bring in a stylist, where do I start? What would you say, Bailey?
My advice to people is usually to look in your room, and anything that you see that you just absolutely hate, go ahead and just take it out. Because to me, it's easier to see the things I love about a room once I go ahead and remove everything that I know I don't want anymore.
Right.
What about you?
And I would say to choose your very favorite things, whether it's one old piece that your grandmother gave you, whether it's that you go and find one thing, just one. I usually suggest starting with a rug or a piece of art and kind of using that as your jumping off point. But to pick something that you love and go from there. Don't feel like you have to get things just to fill the space.
Right.
But to wait until you find things that really, truly make you happy and smile when you see them. And that's always going to give you a better starting place than just using what you have if you feel like you're stuck in a rut with decorating.
I think a mistake a lot of people make too is that they go to the store and they buy a ton of accessories for what they think that they want. And that honestly, you end up spending a lot more money that way.
Right.
And so don't get stuck making that mistake.
Right. You may think, oh, this is only $10, but after you buy $10 things, that's a rug you could have bought.
Right.
And that can make a bigger difference, a bigger impact in your room. And it would be something that you could pick that would work and will continue to work in different spaces. You can move it around and make it whatever you need it to be. So
right. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening in on our first episode. We hope that you enjoyed it. If you liked what you heard, please go and subscribe on iTunes and also leave us a friendly review. That would really help us out.
Yes, good reviews. We encourage good reviews. Like us. Also, find us on Instagram at Poshness Designs. You can find us on our website at www.poshnessdesigns.com and follow along with some of the projects that we're working on, as well as more information about the podcast.
Also on Instagram, you guys can send us a direct message or even leave us a comment if you have any questions you want us to ask at the end of our next episode.
It's great to have you guys, and we'll see you next week.
All right, bye.